And here's the problem, is that fundraising needs to be really good at this, because in most non-profits, NGOs and non-profits, we are surrounded by aloof people. Yeah? And aloof stands for amateurs with a lot of opinions on fundraising. Okay? So people with no training and no professional expertise in fundraising telling us how it should be done. And telling us why the Director of Finance and the Director of Operations deserve to be paid twice as much as the fundraiser. They've got more letters after their name. That's the only reason I can say. So we're in a culture where lots of amateurs, and there are very few people trained in fundraising on the boards of non-profits, which seems kind of strange. But amateurs telling us what to do. And that puts us somewhat isolated in this particular culture. It's the non-profit culture clash. In all successful non-profits and NGOs, there is a culture clash between fundraising and everybody else. Because everybody else has to be an ethical intellectual culture. They come from a development background, a scientific background, an education background, and their definition of professionalism is to be scientific and unemotional about their work. They go to college, they go to university to be trained how to be rational and unemotional and emotionally detached from the work they do. That's what professionalism is. They manage by consensus, they move slowly, they've got to be thorough, make things give right, they're used to grant-making culture, and they manage the most tremendous complexity. And if they don't understand that fundraising is in the emotions business, then we're going to have a really hard job. Because they've been trained for 3, 5, 7 years to take the emotion out, and then fundraising pop up and say, we're in the emotions business, we need all the emotion back, please. Yeah? And they go, burn the witches. Yeah? Burn them. Evil. They're dumbing our profession down, they're making us look stupid, they're oversimplifying it, they're disempowering people, it makes me feel uncomfortable, people should give for different reasons. We've got 100 years of data that says this works, they say it shouldn't, which is interesting for people who are used to evidence-based approach to stuff. But fundraising does need to stand out, freedom to act, fast-moving emotions business, and we manage simplicity, which is pretty much exactly the opposite from them. So how do those people inspire those to get the best for the donor so we can give that to the donor so we can raise lots of money for their whole life and afterwards? You know? Did I tell you that the fundraiser is quite an extraordinary person? It's not just about leading the fundraising team, it's about leading all the donors and this lot as well. Because none of them have been trained in what donors need, and that's what we need to do. Make sense so far? Yeah? The good news, it is really hard, but it feels great afterwards, okay? The great fundraiser doesn't just raise money, they unite and inspire the entire organization. So what we don't do is compromise those cultures by pushing them two together and being average at this and average at that. We keep the two cultures separately, but they respect each other, and we have the best ethical intellectual culture for the rest of the organization, and we have the best ambitious achiever culture for fundraising. And so the only place that the great fundraiser can unite them is with the shared ambition. A great fundraising organization is not one business, it's two businesses with one governance structure and a shared dream, a shared ambition. And the great fundraising leader gets the two of those working together. This takes quite a cool person. And when it comes to communication, all the other departments want to communicate this to the rest of the world. We're great. We're really professional, we're really big, we've been around for a long time, we're very financially cautious, we get good results and we can evidence it. And they would be happy if the whole world just thought we're great. The only person that we see that then stands up and says, we might be great, but what's next is the fundraiser. We are great, but what's next? So classically, it's excellent. We're great, we helped 14,000 deprived children last year, aren't we great? The fundraiser will say, yeah, not bad. That's only 214,911 to go. Yeah? Have we helped them all? And it's the fundraiser, because that's what fundraisers are like. The ambition always comes from the fundraisers. So how do great fundraisers do that? They own one question inside the organization. Why? That's it. Hands up anyone who's got children. Yeah? You know that phase they go through? Why? 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 Go to bed, why? Yeah? Eat now, why? You know that phase they go through? The good news, you never have to grow up if you're a fundraiser. Yeah? You can own the why question. So the finance team say, we need more money. The fundraiser doesn't say how much, you say why. Yeah? What's the problem we're trying to solve? We need to communicate like this. Why? It's the why question that's owned by the fundraiser. 3 questions for any funding bid. Why do we need a lot more money? What are we going to spend it on? And how are we going to ensure that it is spent well? If one is raising government money, that's the most important question. If one is raising money from big foundations, that's the most important question. But for anybody else, why is the most important question? And this just reflects the cultural split between fundraising and the other departments. This huge emotional drive to get people to give. People may need answers to the what and the how to decide which organisation to give to, or how much to give, or how to check it's going to be accounted for, but the actual decision to give is always made in the why space. So the great fundraiser inspires the rest of the organisation by dragging them through a process where they have to answer the question why over and over again until it's brilliant, and then they sleep on it, and then they make it even better. And this could be for the organisation's brand and communications, it could be for the mission, or it could just be for every individual project. But this tenacious, never giving up on the why and making it better and better and better is the skill of the greatest fundraisers. And they don't stop doing it, asking why, for a very, very long time. And in terms of answering the question why, there's a strict criteria list for what works and what doesn't. And this is a lovely list, because this comes from a huge data source, and a lot of people don't like it. So I have that wonderful time where people look at something that's evidenced and say, oh, I disagree with that. And you say, good luck. Yeah? You can disagree with evidence all you want. So last time I went to jail, there was a lot of evidence saying I was a criminal, and I said to the judge, I disagree with that evidence, and he let me go. Yeah? They said, thank you for your opinion, you may go free. That never happened, I never even had to go to court, it's just an illustration of how evidence is important. But a why, this new ambition, this big idea, the blue dot, the big dream, which creates simplicity and energy, the only ones that work are really fast. They've got to be understood very quickly by a complete stranger, which means the simplest ones work best. A description is no good, one that got to directly ask people for something. When we look at a lot of organisations that are not successful at fundraising, this is how they want to approach it, is they want a lot more money without having to ask for it. Yeah? That's the preferred strategy of a lot of organisations. How do we have a lot more money without actually having to ask for it? So here's a good one for the fundraiser. You can't. Yeah? If you want more money, you have to ask for it. It's really, really straightforward. So asking for it in there, the most ambitious work, and I'm coming back to that in a second, we're inspiring people to action, and all the evidence tells us that we educate people through logic, but we inspire them to action through emotion. And all the big ideas that worked had fundraising built in right from the very beginning. Okay? This why of the organisation, whether it's the mission, the brand, or a campaign. Some people think that all you have to do, and this is aloof people, a lot of the amateurs, they think what you have to do is raise awareness of how great our organisation is, and the money will follow. Yeah? Raise awareness of how great we are, and the money will follow. You might want to write this one down. That does not work. Exclamation mark. Underlined. Twice. Yeah? Hello, I'm Alan, I'm really big and important. Can I have some money, please? No? Am I not getting any? Hello, I'm Alan, I'm really good at what I do, and I know better than you about everything, and I'm quite important. Can I have some money, please? I'm Alan, I was founded in 1969, and I've got a professor on my board. Can I have some money, please? No. It doesn't work. Yeah? It's not about us. Our evidence is now telling us quite clearly that the why doesn't mean saying what we do, it's saying the problem we're trying to solve. The good why communicates the problem we're trying to solve as well as the solution our organisation provides. And that's what fundraisers do. All the other departments in an organisation, they own and sell the solution. The fundraiser has got the problem. Yeah? That's our product. That's what we sell. Yeah? We're therapists. Tell us your problems, and we will help you with your problems by generously allowing us to reduce your anxiety by accepting your donation. Yeah? You may laugh, but that's the transaction. Here's a problem, you're anxious about it, give us the money, you will feel less anxious about it. And if that felt good, you can have some more. Okay? It is that simple. What unequivocally doesn't work in a new ambition is a passive description designed to logically reassure people that we are good at what we do. Here's one. Those of you with phones. Branding an organization is not fundraising. Because people don't give to organizations, people give to solve problems. I've got some evidence on this, but I can't publish it until the 1st of September, so maybe we'll come back at some point in time. The effect of branding an organization on its fundraising is nothing. The effect of fundraising on an organization's brand is huge. It's absolutely massive. And this is really, really important. The new ambition is not about building a great organization. That is called non-profit narcissism. Yeah? We are great, you should give us money. Yeah? The new ambition is saying, we've done well, but have we solved the problem yet? And if the answer to that is no, then we need a lot more money. Yeah? Nobody ever solved one of the world's great problems, be it in education, the arts, culture, charity, development, poverty, etc., without a lot more money. Yet. Yep. People like to see ideas change the world. No. Ideas plus a shitload of money change the world. Yep. Simple as that. So this is what the great fundraisers did in order to do this. The 10, 20, 30, 40-year careerists who actually changed the world. The first thing they did was they played a really big game. They didn't necessarily start big, but they played a really, really big game. So what we now know is in terms of these dreams, the biggest ones work best. And to great surprise, the most inspiring why, the most inspiring new ambitions are actually impossible. They're things we can't achieve. So fundraising and branding are different. Branding is about being credible and having a good reputation. Fundraising is about being incredible. Trying to do something that we don't know how to do that can't actually be achieved anyway, but never giving up in trying to do it. Yeah? Fascinating thing about human beings. We are more motivated by the abstract than we are by the concrete. Yeah? The things that motivate us most are things we made up that set the rules. Can I let you into a secret, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah? Poland doesn't exist. You just made it up. Someone did some rules for currency, some rules for language, some laws, and drew a line on a map and went, there's Poland, now do what you're told and be a good Polish citizen. Yeah? The Toyota Motor Company doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It's just a set of rules, but 100 million cars are made exactly the same around the world because everybody does what they're told. Money doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It's just a set of rules that were made up to get people to do stuff. It's exactly the same as fundraising. The impossible dream, the abstract one, is the biggest one. So the most successful new ambitions we've seen over the last few years join us in the fight to end slavery. Good luck, there are more slaves in the world than there ever have been. That one tripled an organization's income. I showed this one yesterday in the UK, NSPCC, cruelty to children must stop. We've got a fundraising appeal to end child abuse. Internally, all the ethical intellectuals said, we can't have that as an ambition because it's impossible. And the director of fundraising went, fine, we'll do a fundraising appeal to reduce child abuse. So all you have to do is go into a room and tell us what the target is. How many of our children should be abused? What's the appropriate level of child abuse in the population? Is it 50%? You just tell us the target and we'll raise the money. And they went, well, there can't be an acceptable level. And he said, well, that's what I just said. Yeah? It's an impossible dream. Engelsk had is vanskelig dorm blir insta uitweg. Yeah? Do you like that one? Yeah? Nobody should feel so bad that death becomes the only way out. Mental health in Norway. Together we will beat cancer. No one should face cancer alone. Sammen stop only Denmark. Together we'll stop abuse of children in Denmark, or no child born to die. The most impossible dreams are the most inspiring. Would you like to know why? Yeah? One, belief is what drives people, not trust. Belief is why we do things, lack of trust is why we don't, but the driving force is belief, and human beings are strange, and that we're more inclined to believe in a group of people trying to achieve something impossible than we are with a specific objective. Yeah? Short term, we might work to specific objectives, but long term, belief in an impossible dream drives more human beings than anything else. Isn't that interesting? Yeah? And here's the second one, which is the logical one. An impossible dream future-proofs your fundraising case for support. You will always need more money. Yeah? Because the dream is impossible. And sometimes finding the simplicity is not about this particular type of emotion. It can come from all kinds of places. But the new ambition, the simplicity, and the why is all important. I saw a very funny marketing challenge about 3 years ago, and it's from an iconic organisation. It's the Royal Flying Doctor Service of Victoria in Australia. Yeah? But they've got a marketing problem. How do we market the Royal Flying Doctor Service when our doctors don't fly? Okay? This is a serious challenge, because in Western Australia and Northern Territories, the doctors do fly, but in Victoria, they drive ambulances. Okay? So all those images of roads going through the desert and heroes parachuting and stuff like doesn't actually happen anywhere near Melbourne. Okay? How on earth do we do that? And the chief executive saying, I don't know how we'll raise any money because what we do is not very interesting. And I said, oh, sure it is, Scott. It's bound to be interesting. What do you do? And this is what he said. We provide an automotive patient transport service. I went, do you know what, Scott? You're right. It really is not very interesting. I'm not going to give money to someone who, even if it's a really good automotive patient transport service, I'm not likely to give you that money. I said, you need to turn the what into a why. What do you mean? What's the problem you're trying to solve with the Royal Flying Doctor Service? And he went, well, the patient transport service needs to be automotive. You're getting trained, man. What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? And it got into a highly emotional space. Now, this is interesting. The country of Australia has the best health service in the world. If you live in Brisbane, Sydney, or Melbourne. If you live anywhere else, it's crap because you can't get there. It's one of the worst health services in the world. They call it healthcare inequality, but that's jargon. Yeah? The simple way of saying that, there's no point in having a great health service if you can't get there in time or at all. That's the problem that the Royal Flying Doctor Service are trying to solve. We also did a deal with the Royal Flying Doctor Service of Western Australia, who didn't have a fundraising department, that we rent Victoria's fundraising department and they let us use some of their desert for photographs. That's quite cool. That's called branding. But then we got to the very simple why. It's not about ambulances. All Victorians must have the best healthcare, whether they live in Melbourne or if they live in the desert. It's a fundamental right to Australians, and we have to get them there. So we use old and new and history and ambulances and all kinds of stuff. And he didn't tell me this, but in the year he asked me that question, they generated 3 million Australian dollars in fundraised income. The next year, they generated 9, and that was when he said we've done really well. And he phoned me up earlier this year and said, what's next? And I mean, what do you mean, what's next, Scott? He said, well, we did 43 million last year, because we know what our why is, and everybody wants all Victorians to have the best healthcare. And he said, what's next? And I said, I've got no idea. But this will tell you what a good fundraising leader is like, because I just looked at the wall, and I saw that they were 97 years old. And I said, well, if I were you, Scott, I'd raise 100 million in your 100th year. And he went, oh, God. And I said, I need to think about that. And he left us with a fundraising team, and 10 minutes later, he walked in with the chief executive of our Flying Doctors Western Australia. He brought her in and he said, I thought you'd like to meet the team. They're going to raise 100 million in our 100th year. And I said, Scott, have you just made that strategic decision? Yes, get on with it. Yeah, crack on. How are we going to do that? Bequests and legacies, so hurry up. And I said, Scott, that's going to be really difficult. Yeah? That is so unethical, because you run a life-saving service and you've just told us to hurry up in raising bequests and legacies. Yeah? But anyway, we'll not go there. These big ideas, have you noticed something that's not in any of the successful big ideas, new ambitions? Not one of them includes a description of what the organization does. Not one of them says, we do this, please give us some money. They all say the problem, solution, the ambition, and nothing else. It can be difficult to identify the problem. The solution is really easy. It's normally one word. The ambition is when do we close the organization down because it's job done. And the most difficult bit to get everyone else to do is and nothing else. People want to add loads of stuff to our communications and our why all the time by explaining more. But sticking to that why is the discipline. But it has to be the best why. Any organization can say, we empower people and transform lives. Or we combat injustice, or whatever it happens to be. It's standing out in a crowded market. It has to be the best why. How do great fundraisers find that? Well, this one is beloved by fundraisers. They are experts at not hiding from the horror of the world. They are brilliant at telling the truth well. The emotional impact of a problem. And it doesn't matter what kind of organization it is, there is a problem that needs to be solved that is emotional. You will find it if you try hard enough.